Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. Oh my gosh, we're on episode 21 of Yona of the Dawn. Spark. I can't imagine what that's about. Maybe the fireworks that are hidden in Yoon's in Yoon's robes. Maybe the spark of revolution because Yona and Yun are sneaking aboard the ship to save these women from getting, trafficked over to the Kai Empire. The spark of Yona and her dragon crew taking a stand against Suwon. I don't know, but I'm really excited with this episode because we have a lot of build up. The last couple episodes where we've introduced Jaeha, we've introduced him to the fold. We've got our green dragon, our blue dragon, our white dragon together. Still no yellow dragon, and we're down to the last 4 episodes, which is curious. I'm like, okay, is he just gonna come in the final hour and then we see him for like 1 episode? I'm glad I'm reading the manga. I know I've said that most of this series, but I really legitimately am. And we're getting closer to it. So I'm so excited. But yeah. So our dragons and Hawk are ready to take on, alongside the pirates, take on Kumji and free these people that have been kidnapped. And Yona and Yun are sneaking aboard the ship. So anything can happen, right? I'm very curious to know if the Yellow Dragon is maybe aboard Kumji's ship or near them. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm fully expecting if it happens because we've only got 4 episodes left and y'all seem to like him. So either y'all are manga readers and you're speaking from the manga, or you like him in these last couple episodes. I don't know. But I'm very, very excited and I can't wait. So it's only been a couple days since I've watched episode 20, honestly, but I couldn't wait a week. I was like, I need to sit down and watch this. So I'm watching a little bit ahead. I think episode 19 is about to come out on Patreon and episode 18 is about to come out on YouTube. And so I'd already recorded episode 20 for the following week, but I was like, I can't wait. So yeah, but I hope you all enjoy the reaction. This series, it has my heart. I love Yona. She's a great protagonist. Hawk is husbando for sure. And that's all you can really say about it. So, so let's dive in, shall we? I am ready to start this episode. We're going to start episode 21 of Yona of the Dawn and just see what all goes down. It seems like tonight, this is the battle night. So it's either going to end in this episode or it's going to carry over into the next. At this point, I don't know, but we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's find out. Oh my gosh. Okay. You would end there. Of course you did on a cliffhanger like that. Of course you would. Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised? No. Okay. Oh man, I will talk about this episode, go through it, but Yona, girl, there were so many good moments with Yona in this episode, and Yun debating how he was in the past. I said in the last episode that Yun has grown a lot in this series. I've said that the last couple episodes. Yun has grown a lot because he's gone from somebody that was very anti-nobles, anti-Yona, like, I don't know, into royalty, and now he's like the first to defend her, but he also comes to a realization about himself, and I really, really like that about him. There's so much good in this episode. So I don't think the Yellow Dragon's coming out next episode, because next episode seems like it's going to round out. Next episode is going to signal kind of the climax of the battle, and that'll leave us with 2 episodes left. What the heck, show? Why? It would be funny if they just didn't introduce us to the Yellow Dragon this series, and then y'all are like, well, you'll find out in the manga. I'm like, that's so... God, that's so crazy. Get on this, some studio. Make season 2 of this show. I want to see it. Even though I'm going to be reading the manga, I want to see it animated because the animation's so good and the show's so wonderful. And it's been like 7 years since this come out. So why? Why, studio? Mappa, get on this. This episode was really, really good. And just setting up Yona's development. And I wondered if they would recognize that she was the princess, but they play it off so well in this. It's really clever how they get Kumji to kind of go around, right? And it's a logical thing, right? So Yona and Yun getting taken to where these women are. So there was like a checkpoint before they got on the ship. And Kumji's just the worst. He's gross. Like he has all these scared girls near him. And it's human trafficking. It's disgusting. Like they're just going to sell these women for money. And then being like sex workers, no. And the idea of him with the red hair. I wondered when he had the necklace on, like with the red and green, if maybe he liked the color red. Because he seems really, interested in her when he finds out her hair color. Oh my gosh. But okay, for the record, Yuri, I questioned during this entire episode because I'm untrustworthy in this show, I guess, because I kept thinking maybe Yuri was going to be like a double agent, like maybe Yuri was sent down there to report any hostility or to report if anybody tries to escape. I thought for a hot second that Yuri was working with Kumji, and when Yona and Yun were like about to escape, she's like, oh, I'll come with you, and she was going to turn them in. I thought that for a split second. I was like, I don't know if I trust Yuri because she seems really cautious around them, but in all honesty, it was her trying to figure out if she should trust Yona and Yun or not. So, and I like that Yona said her name is Rena. She hid the fact that she was Yona, so if word gets out to Suwon, they'll be like, oh, it's Rena, the red-haired girl Rena, and the pirates, and so it won't immediately tie back to Yona. So I could see that working. But if they see a guy with a glaive, then Suwon's gonna be like, there's only one guy I know that has that weapon, and it's the Thunder Beast. So I think Hawk might give him away. It'd be funny if Hawk's the one that gives him away instead of Yona. Yona has the conspicuous red hair and looks like a princess, but she's the inconspicuous one. And Hawk, this handsome bum with the glaive, is the one that gives him away. That would be kind of funny if that ends up being the case. But yeah, she sprains her ankle. And that's another thing too. So Hawk's going to be pissed when he finds out she sprained her ankle. But yeah, she's injured, but she goes through it anyway. And there's a line coming up. I'm rewatching the episode. There's a line coming up with her and Yoon that I absolutely love. It's very telling for each of their characters. But yeah, Kumji coming down. He's so disgusting to see them. Ugh. And Yona just being like, this is the guy. This is the one. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the line Awa still has some value left in it. And yeah, they didn't really even know. They were like, what's going on? And that line where she's like, we're looking for work. And he's like, oh, you'll get work. He's like, work's so much fun, you might not be able to handle it. I'm like, gross. And then, yeah, that's when he picks up Yona. And I wondered if, at first he doesn't really recognize her, but when she has the fire in her eyes, that's when he questions. He's like, well, maybe I've seen a girl with red hair like this before. And poor Yoon is like, shit, because at first Kumji's like, maybe I'll just keep her for myself. And Yoon's like, this is going to be awful. This won't go with the plan if she's taken away. So he tries to offer himself up. And I like that Yoon, and it has this mental monologue in his head, like, what are you doing, you idiot? You're a guy. As soon as he finds out you're a guy, he will kill you. What are you doing? But he's trying to save Yona because that's what Hawk asked him to do. So he tries to, like, seduce Kumji. But as we see from Kumji, his whole thing is he doesn't want to be interrupted, and he doesn't want anybody going against what he says. So he just kicks Yoon so hard it draws blood. And this is one of those shows where it does not exaggerate or use hyperbole with its animation. When you get kicked, it's like the violence in this show, the action is very realistic. So the fact that he got kicked hard enough to bleed is saying something. And then even the guard was like, you'll damage the merchandise. And he's like, well, it's my merchandise, so I can do what I want. And he kicks him down. So I'm just establishing, if Yona ends up firing an arrow and killing Kumji, I won't be surprised because we've set him up to be the worst person, like just an irredeemable person. Like he just thinks that these women, he thinks they're just property. And he says, like the line, nothing pleases me more than an obedient woman who trembles in silence. That's not Yona, not anymore. No, just like this redhead. Yeah, he says that. And then, oh, that shot, that fire in her eyes. I want to take a picture of that. I'm going to get a screenshot for that for possibly the ye old thumbnail, because Yona, that fire, that spark. Like when she gets that molten lava look in her eyes, it almost seems like it has a paralyzing quality because he drops her. He drops her instantly and stares at her hand and his hand is shaking. Like, did she intimidate me? So that kind of makes sense when she's on the bridge and she throws down, because when she threw down the bow and arrow, I was like, Yona, keep the bow and arrow. You need that. But she was just trying to get to the firework. And it makes sense why the guys didn't immediately attack her, because she had that fire in her eyes, and it's almost like, kind of like Sheena, it sort of paralyzes them, and they're like, we don't know what to do. So, and that happened with the Fire Tribe guards back when she saved Hawk. So it makes sense. I don't think it's a plot hole. I think it makes sense with her character that when she gets that fire in her eyes, it makes sense. But yeah, then that's when he realizes that it might be her, and he asks if she was from Awa, and he remembers back at the palace seeing the girl with red hair. And Yoon's like, shit, so he recognized and I guess that means they thought about it, that Yoon was like, this could happen, but they were just banking on him with her hair cut short that he wouldn't know. But he had remembered seeing the hair reflected in the sun. But here's the thing. He asks if she's Princess Yona and says she was around your age. And Yona's like, well, shit. And she prostrates herself in front of him and is like, no, my father's just a poor merchant and I just came here looking for work. And she's like groveling in front of him. And she's like, if you want me to be Princess Yona, I'll be your Princess Yona. It's like, if you want me to be your angel, I'll be your angel sort of thing. And that's what makes him be like, oh, well, wait. If you were really royalty, a pampered princess wouldn't grovel in front of me saying she was looking for work. Like, she'd be way too conceited and stuck up for that and ignorant to do anything like that. And so he underestimates her, but it just shows how much Yona has grown from episode 1 to now, that she would think in the moment, she'd be like, oh, I gotta get out of this. And it's just clever on her part. He'd be too self-respecting to rub her face on the ground and grovel before me for work, a filthy wretch. Yeah, so Yona played the smart move. And that's when he's like, how can I be so stupid? And I'm like, well, you're not stupid in this moment. You were correct. And that's when he says he heard the princess was carried off by attendants and killed. So that's how the story's gotten around. But yeah, no, Kumji had it figured out. She just got out of it. Oh, I love it. I love that so much. But yeah, and then when she goes to like embrace Yoon, she's like, are you okay? And yeah, and he says that her ankle's turning blue. Like, they're both in pain. Like, they both have suffered a lot. And Yoon saying, who kicks a delicate little girl? What a jerk. Your foot's turning blue, being like, yeah, it's pretty bad. And then this line, Yona says, I'm fine. I'd forgotten about the pain. She's like, I'm going to work through the pain and be like, it's nothing. Like, to her, she's like, push the pain aside to get the mission done. But then Yoon is the opposite. He's like, well, things are starting to get interesting, because he's like, I'm not about to forget my pain. I'll pay him back 100 times over. So Yona pushes the pain aside for the mission, and Yoon uses the pain to spur him on, to be like, no, I'm going to remember this pain because it's going to make me want to get back at him. And Yona's like, I'm going to forget about the pain because I need to focus on the mission. So it's curious how they both handle these things in different ways. It's interesting. But then, yeah, we get Yuri, and Yuri seeming the daughter of a shipbuilder. Convenient, right? But that just goes to show you never know who you're going to meet in this. And she gets inspired by Yona, because Yona's like, aren't you guys, she's like, aren't y'all tired of being nice? Don't y'all want to go ape shit? Like, one of those moments. That's exactly what happens. She's like, aren't you tired of just letting him walk all over you? Don't you want Awa to become a great place again? And they establish, the two guards say that we don't need Awa's citizens rebelling again, meaning that they've rebelled before. And the question is, did King Il put Kumji in charge? I'm assuming he did. And that's where all this went awry. Kumji just completely took over and made it worse. Yeah, the people didn't rebel again, but that's because their lives were like so subjugated. But yeah, Yona's like, don't you guys want to stand up and be free? We can do this. We got people that are helping us. And you just, and I like that she says, whenever they reach out their hand to you, just know that they're here to help you and trust them. Like saying, whenever these pirates show up, they're going to look like pirates. They're going to look like a ragtag group, and there's going to be a guy with a giant dragon arm and a guy with a weird mask and a squirrel, but they're here to help us, right? And there's a hot guy with them, but y'all can't get next to the hot guy. If all these girls see Hawk, they're going to fangirl over him so hard. Hawk and Jeha, Jeha's going to be like, hello, ladies. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can just imagine it. And then I like that Yoon's like, we got it. And I like that Yoon's like, he doesn't even give himself a name. He's like, I'm just Yoon. I guess Yoon is more of a gender neutral name. But yeah, as she says that, you should trust them and take your hand, Yuri sees that her hands are shaking. Like, Yona this whole time has been scared and shaking. I don't blame her. I would be in the same boat too. I'd be like, I don't know what to do in this. And even if you knew what to do, you'd still be shaking and scared. So it's totally realistic how she's reacting to all of this. And Yuri notices, but Yona puts on that brave face, and she's like, if you want to live, come with me if you want to live, right? Do everything you can to survive. I love that. And all the girls are like, okay. And then Yona says, I have no strength to offer. She's like, I know that. And I love the representation. She's like, it irritates me how weak I am. Because yeah, that is frustrating. If you're in a situation where you feel powerless, it is irritating, because Yona wants to do something, but she can't. And so she's like, I wish I was stronger, but I know I'm not. So all I can do is what's available to me. And I love that shot of her hands. She's like, let me protect them. Almost like she's like praying. Almost like she's asking the red dragon to be like, let me protect them. And I wondered in the moment if this was tying her back to the original red dragon, to Hiryu. Tying back to the original one, being like, just almost like Iksu, like asking for a divine help in all of this. She says, as the kingdom's princess, as any human being, let me fight. That's probably my favorite line in the whole episode. She's like, please, as this kingdom's princess and as any other human being, let me fight. So she's saying like, let me do what anybody else would be able to. It's not the fact that I'm a princess that lets me fight. It's the fact that I'm human. I want to be able to defend people I care about. And it's like, I love that line. I love it's just, she's putting herself on the same field as everyone else. And I absolutely love it. Yona, my girl. And it transitions from that, her looking up and being in the light, to going to the starry sky. Yona has my heart. I absolutely love her. So yeah, so then we talk back to the pirate ship, while this is going on. And, well, we have all the girls boarding the ship. And then we cut back to old Hawk. And Yona, yeah, she sticks out really. Even in the moonlight, she sticks out. And so Hawk, ever since the end credits of episode 20, he's been sitting there looking in the same direction. Our ultimate husbando. And then, yeah, Jeha's like, you should get some rest. You've been standing there since yesterday. And Hawk's like, this is how I sleep. Which he's not wrong. Hawk throughout this entire series has just basically been on watch over Yona. And that's how he's been sleeping. And Jeha's like, okay. He's like, no. And then he's like, you should tell that to the white snake. I love that he still calls him white snake. And it's just that, so Kija, whenever Kija goes to sleep exhausted, he just has like sleep fever dreams. He sleepwalks and does things like that. My cousin actually does something like this, so it's very realistic. Every time he nods off, he jumps up to pick a fight with somebody in the air. Like, he's trying to stay awake. Kija is trying to stay awake no matter what, and it's just made him irritated, and now he's just like, he's like a little kid. He's like a little preschooler that you're trying to lay him down for a nap, and he's just like, man, and you're just trying to like put him to sleep. That's what he reminds me of. Oh, Kija. Sweet boy. And I love that Jeha's like, good grief, yara yara. And Kija's ruining his good looks. There was quite a bit of Jeha-Kija shipping in this episode, for the record. I like that Sheena jumps up like behind him and he's like, well, you look tired too. Green Dragon, you have dark circles and dark rings in your eyes. And Jeha's like, what? Don't sneak up on me like that, you creepy blue dragon. Mm-hmm. He's like, you haven't slept yet either. You're in the same boat with all of us. We can't know from Sheena because we don't get to see Sheena's eyes, so we don't know if he said sleep or not. But he says he hasn't either. And Jeha's like, what, me? Don't be absurd. No. I ate well and slept well. And looking back on this episode, the moment where they are about to pounce him, I am taking a photo of that too, because I can't wait to see this in the manga. It's so funny. Like, Hawk and Kija are like, we're about to jump you and prove that you have dark circles in your eyes. And Sheena's like, what? I love their expressions. He's like, I even had some fun with the ladies last night. I'm the very image of composure. It's like, you did not, and you are not. No. And I love that they're just like, let me see your face. And Hawk and Kija attack him. And Sheena's like, I don't understand. And then, oh my God, the thing with the rose and like the moan. Stop. Just stop. He's like, I've been defiled, but it hurts so good. It's like, just stop. Hawk's like, keep your clothes on. And if you notice, Jeha has the blush, and Hawk's like, stop. And then Kija is the one that gets blush. She's like, you have dark circles under your eyes. No, we just had to prove it. So much shipping with Kija and Jeha in this episode. So much. And he's like, I told you I had fun with the ladies last night. And they're like, and Sheena's like, no, Green Dragon, you were in the crow's nest. I saw you. Some of you have noted, like, why isn't Sheena in the crow's nest? Because he has the eyesight. I would argue that, I get that. That's a very reasonable argument. Why isn't Sheena in the crow's nest? He should be. But also, I guess you're double dipping, right? You have a guy in the crow's nest with regular vision using the binoculars, but then you also have Sheena on the deck that can look from a different vantage point. So maybe you're just doubling your options. Maybe, possibly. I don't know. Because if you think about it, if you had some guy up in the crow's nest and you had Sheena on the bottom of the ship on the deck with everybody else, Sheena could look around and get a periphery, but he can look around from the deck of the ship and see far away. But a regular human has to be in the crow's nest to see far away. So they're just trying to double their odds, right? And then Jay was like, you've been watching me pretty closely. Come on now, do you love me that much? And Sheena's like, no. He doesn't say anything. But Kija says, you're worried about her, aren't you? Like, Kija is bound and determined to be like, oh, Jeha, you like Yona. You don't want to admit it, but you like it. And Jeha has a very reasonable excuse. He's like, well, so what if I am? Of course I'm worried about Yona. She's a girl. It's nothing to do with the blood. Nothing to do with the fact that I like her as a friend. Neither of those things. She's just a girl. I'm just a womanizer. It's totally within logic. But I love that look on Kija's face. He's like, whatever your reason, as long as we feel the same way as you do, then I can trust you to watch my back in a fight. That little exchange of expressions between the two of them, he's like, as long as we feel the same way, I know I can trust you. And Jeha looking at Kija like, you're kind of handsome. That's what his face looks like. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, and he blushes. He's like, well, do as you please. Oh my God. And he asked if they're worried about Yun, and Hawk's like, nah, he's fine. He's like, he's tougher than you think. But this dynamic between the dragons and Hawk is so good. And I feel like we're just seeing just the blossoming of it. Like this interaction between Sheena and Kija and Jeha in this one moment, and the glances between them and their conversation. I'm like, I love this. And it's just the start of it. We still have all these volumes to go in the manga of it. And I get what y'all are saying now. You're like, oh, just wait till you see the interactions with the dragons. And I was like, okay, this was like a taste of it. And I'm like, I'm on board. I'm on board with this very much. And Hawk's just like, yeah, it's fine. And then Kija admits, like, sometimes I even respect Yun. It's like, dude, you so respect Yun. Shut up. And Sheena's like, I do too. Oh my gosh. And Gigan watching them all interact, and she's like, you'll be just fine, Jeha. Like, you'll be just fine with them. You guys will make a good team. It's like, I still worry about Gigan. I do. I worry about her. I feel like if somebody's going to die in this, it's going to be her. And I don't want her to. So, and that's when they signal Sheena to go start looking around. But yeah, so then we have Yona and Yun, like, trying to bust out and everything, and Yuri offers to help them. It's great. And then, oh my gosh. Yeah, and Yona says that my name's Rena, and then Yun's like, I'm just Yun. So we go back to this fight scene on the ship. Yona of the Dawn, like, it is a shoujo, but the action in this is honestly as good as any shonen out there. This shoujo gets a reputation of just being for girl audiences, for female audiences. And so I think shoujo gets a bad rap sometimes, that people are like, oh, it's just... Because you have shows like Ouran High School Host Club. That's a staple shoujo that I think of. Right? And there's nothing wrong with Ouran High School Host Club. I love that series. But there's not really any action in it. I think that when people think of shoujo, they think, oh, it's just fan servicey guys and this romance for the ladies. And it's like, yeah, there's that. I'm not going to deny that. But you have an action scene like this with the pirates boarding the ship, and you have Hawk just whipping this glaive around, knocking people out, and just going all out and doing all this acrobatic stuff, and the choreography of the fights and everything. It's so good. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is a shoujo, but the action is just as good as any shonen that I've seen. So I'm like, gender stereotyping be damned, right? Gender audience stereotyping be damned. And I love that Hawk is just like going all out, knocking these guys out, and Sheena just bonk. Sheena's like, it's the bare minimum. That's all I need to do. And then Jeha's just like kicking everybody left and right and establishing that they're not killing anybody. Even though Kija says, I'll kill Kumji, even though Kija announces that he's going to kill Kumji, I think Kumji is the exception to this rule in this battle. Kumji is our dominator. He's our person that if we're going to take somebody out, it's going to be Kumji. But yeah, everybody else is going to just get knocked out and it's fine. Or I love the fact that Yun rubs the anesthetic on the needles to use. That's really clever. I like that. It's good to have somebody as resourceful as Yun in your team, because Yun is a great example of a character that is not physically really strong, but he's smart. And so he's resourceful. And so that's really good. He's got a lot of street smarts. But yeah, and then Hawk's like, don't pass out from all the excitement, and don't let Gigan hear that you're gonna kill people. And then Jaeha's like, she'll kill you if you're talking smack about her. So yeah, they're all just waiting to hear from Yona, and Hawk's like, hurry it up. And I like that we have these two pirates seeing Jaeha flying from ship to ship, and they're like, he's gonna wear himself out if he does that all night. And they're like, well, that just means we have to get tougher to make sure that Jaeha doesn't have to work as hard. And it's like, I don't want them to die either. Not at all. But yeah, God, this scene, this showdown between Yun and Yuri and Yona and the two guys, I was so tense because when that guy started waking up, I'm like, he's gonna attack Yun. It's not gonna be good. What are you doing? No! And yeah, and Yun has this, Yun tries everything. He's like, well, you won't hurt us, ladies. We're part of your precious cargo. And the guard's like, no, you guys are defective goods. We need to just get rid of you because you're gonna be trouble later down the road because you tried to escape. And then that one guard said, I'll kill you as examples so our citizens will never rebel again. Saying, I guess maybe it's not that there was rebellion earlier. Maybe it was that they thought that since Yona and Yun are our citizens, that it'll be an example not to rebel in the future, despite what's been going on. Because the town seems like they understand that there's human trafficking, but they've not stood up and done anything about it. And Yona and Yun standing up and doing something about it, maybe they want to set an example so that people won't get any ideas. That could be it. And poor Yun! Yun is like, what do I do? He's like, what should I do? He's like, I have the firework, and I love the sweat dripping off his face. He's like, I could rush on the deck and signal the pirates, but if I do that, I'm endangering Yona and Yuri, which is what Hawk, he promised wouldn't happen. And he's like, and if I get caught on the deck, then I'm done for. And that's about the time this guy starts waking up, and he's like, we're stuck here unable to launch the firework, and we need to do something about it. And then he's like, what should I do? And I was like, think of something before this guy wakes up and gets you. And that's when Yun has this like calming moment where he's like, the old me would have prioritized my own life. He's like, the old me would have thought of any situation that would have protected myself over everyone else. But Yun has changed and he's grown. He's like, I would have thought of the most effective way for me to escape and not worried about the mission. But now, and you see like his eyes have a glimmer. He's like, but now I think I might have become an idiot Iksu. I might have become one of these Bakas along with the rest of them. And that's when he reveals that he's a guy. Yona's courage has inspired him. I won't let her courage go to waste. And I love that, just that sly look of him revealing he's a guy. It's the most sly, like his smirk, like, gotcha. It's a trap. Mm-hmm. I love it. He's like, I threatened them into helping me. And he tries to pass it off being like, it's all my fault. I'm a pirate. I threatened them. So take me on the deck. And he's hoping that it'll be able for Sheena to see him. But then they go to a part where they're blocked off and he's like, damn it, he can't see him. So I have to light the firework. There's no way around it at this point. And God, they just beat the snot out of you. And I feel so bad for him. And now the whole thing with the OP makes sense because he has like the foot underneath his head. Ugh. And he tries to pass off that he's rigged the deck with explosives and he lies about it. And it's like, and poor Yona. Yona's like, I don't know what to do. And that's when she gets the bow and arrow and is like, I'm going to rescue him. And yeah, and she has the fire in her eyes. And she shoots and misses intentionally, I'm sure. And it's so great. It's all that practice leading up to her standing there like in front of the tree waiting to shoot the arrow. It's like calling back to her in front of the tree, like waiting to shoot. It's so good. It's so good. I love it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she's like, get away from Yun. I'll shoot anyone who approaches him. And I think she would. And then, yeah, when they see the fire in her eyes, he's like, how are you going to shoot anybody? And then, oh my gosh, I'm taking a picture of that too. It's so good. I'm like, Yona, my girl. So many good shots in this episode. And they're like, oh, and see, yeah, they're paralyzed. And he's like, Yona, light the gunpowder quick with the flame. So even though in the context of the anime, this all happens very slow, in the moment, it's happening very quickly. Like in the moment, it's like a split second. She goes, grabs it, turns around, runs to the lantern. Because I wondered when Yun looked at that lantern, I wondered why he was staring at it when it flickered, and that's why. But they're going after her with the sword. Ugh! And they're, oh God, and creating that tension of it launching, like the look in Yoon's eyes, he's like, if this fails, we're dead. And it doesn't. it shoots up that tiny little firework, that little spark, right? Just, that's it. And that's all Sheena needed to see. And he's like, that's it. That's all he needed. And of course, that's where they cut off at. How dare they? How dare they? So I am worried that they're chasing after Yona with swords. I am worried about that. And she let her bow and arrow down. I am worried about that. Maybe Jayhawk can jump over really quick because he's a fast guy. Maybe he can leap over there and save her like at the last minute. You know Hawk's going to want to go over there. And then Sheena's seen it. So I don't know. I don't know. Episode 22 is next. We only have 3 episodes left. And you know next episode is going to be like the climax of all of this. And then we'll probably have 2 episodes to wind down. I don't know. I know Yona's going to be safe. Obviously, we have a whole manga to read about her. But it's just the suspense of knowing what's going to happen and how it's all going to go down. And is Giga going to die? What's going to happen? How are they doing this? Are they going to save the town? Are they going to have to retreat? There's a lot of unknowns and questions. And I know Yona's going to be safe, but it's just the show builds up so much tension with that you don't know how. And so it's the how, right? But yeah, this episode was really good. It was a really good build up to the to the climax of the season, right? I hope y'all enjoyed this reaction. I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below, but man, I'm pretty excited about it. Not gonna lie. So yeah, I hope that y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week we're on episode 22, baby. See, the climax of our pirate battle, hopefully. Episode 22 of Yona of the Dawn. Bye.